Hey, y'all.
What up, y'all? And welcome to the Birth Squad podcast. If you've been riding with the squad,
hey, fam.
And if you're new,
welcome to the squad.
We're your hosts, Dr. Ijama Kwandu and Dr. Kamisha Thomas, two licensed obstetricians and gynecologists, as well as best friends.
We use real stories to educate about pregnancy, birth experiences, reproductive health, and all things in between.
And while we hope you love learning about our podcast, it is not intended to be a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult your healthcare provider for your specific care.
So to learn more about us and for more information, please visit our Instagram at The Birth Squad and our Twitter at _The Birth Squad.
Please keep in mind that the following episode may cover topics that could be triggering to some individuals. Listener discretion is advised. Meet Sierra, aka Cece. She's the next badass birth warrior who will share her story to help the squad navigate through the complex and inspiring journey of pregnancy, labor, birth, and motherhood.
Get ready, y'all, because this week we are talking about delivery at a birth center and how Sierra mentally prepared and centered herself in preparation for her experience. During the interview, you may notice that there's some medical terms or jargon, but don't worry, as usual, we got you. We have included definitions and explanations in the episode description of the podcast. So please listen up and enjoy her story.
Well, welcome, Cece.
Hey. What's up?
We're so thankful that you could join us. So we're going to start out by having you kind of just tell us about yourself.
I'm Sierra. I'm 34, and I have a 9-month-old boy. His name is Lux.
Cutie Lux.
And Lux's father, Lance. Yeah. So it's us three.
How did you get on this path towards motherhood?
So I would say I always knew that I wanted to be a mom. Like that was something that I just always wanted to be. I was always great with kids. This actually, Lex was an unplanned pregnancy. Like was feeling a little weird, like nauseous. And my stomach was feeling weird, but it was just like discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
And also like a little bit of fatigue. And so then I had a telehealth appointment first because it was also like in the beginning of like the pandemic. And so, yeah, come on in. We're going to take some tests. And then they did an ultrasound. They're like, yep, there's something in there. And you're 6 weeks. Yeah, it was a surprise to us. That's how motherhood began.
Yeah. So when you found out you were pregnant, what were your goals?
There wasn't any immediate goals. I was just immediately scared and a little bit stressed out because we had planned to move. Like, I think the pandemic lockdown in California was around like March 19th. And then find out that we're pregnant a month later was kind of like, whoa. So I think my first thing was thinking about is like safety.
At that time, had you established care with a doctor?
I did see an OB. That was an interesting experience because that appointment probably lasted 10 minutes. So just like kind of short and it just felt like very rushed. Yeah, I'm about to do the cervical exam. That was it. So she set the tone, she set the standard, she set the bar for, okay, this is how this is going to be. One of my really good friends, he told me that him and his wife, this was their third child and that they had a home birth. And it was like the best experience out of just all three of the childbirths. It was like the best experience ever. He suggested that we watch The Business of Being Born. He's like, y'all should watch this movie and make sure y'all watch it together. So I think we watched it that day. And that's the moment that I realized that I don't want a hospital birth. And I remember telling the OB that I wanted or out of hospital birth. And she was like, what? Like, she was like very discouraging. It's like for your first baby. And she kind of made it seem like it was unsafe, but without like giving an explanation. You can't like unhear that, right? And so it was definitely like a thought in my my mind, like, okay, well, but I also feel like at the time I should have kind of asked more questions.
Okay, hold up. This is a really hot topic right now. Home birth versus birthing center versus hospital. If you've looked at the media lately, you kind of noticed that the hospital is kind of painted as a place that can't be trusted. So, a lot of women are really choosing to deliver at home or a birthing center. But let me say that each of those three options are a valid choice. Some places may be better than others, depending on the individual patient and especially looking at their medical history and any complications that are going on in the pregnancy.
I agree, Jama. Where you deliver or even how you deliver is not a one size fits all situation, y'all. Ijama and I both practice at a hospital, but we know people who have had a home birth or even delivered in a birthing center. It's why we wanted to touch on this topic, because at the end of the day, it is a complex decision. We're not here to tell you that a hospital delivery is the only option, because we understand the issues involved with increased maternal morbidity and mortality in the Black community. What we are here to tell you is to arm yourself with knowledge. So let's dive back into Sierra's story, because she is going to give us some context on why, how, and who is a good candidate for a birthing center. And what was it in the documentary that really spoke to you so much initially?
I think it was just a lot of like the statistics that they dropped, like less than 8% of OBs in the US actually attend births. That OBs are trained for surgery. A lot of nurses and OBs haven't really seen births without any interventions. The newborn death rate was like second worst in all of the developing worlds. And just also like back in the day, like in the 1900s, 95% of births were at home. And that number changed. It dropped to 50% around 1930s, late 1930s. Now that the number of like home births is nearly 1%. That was interesting. And then just like the rise of C-sections, right? And it was like in the 1970s, it went from like 4% to 23% in like in a decade. And that, that's actually like a really major surgery. And so I never had surgery before, and I don't want to have surgery, if I don't have to have surgery. So it was like those things that really stood out to me, that kind of helped me make the decision that I should look for or consider other options outside of a hospital. As well as, hearing about, just things. I think lately Black maternity health is a pretty big topic these days. And just kind of hearing about those disparities also played a part in that decision.
We touched on the issue of disparities in Black maternal health a little, but this is a huge deal. A large part of addressing this issue starts with recognizing and acknowledging our shortcomings as providers. Unfortunately, we're human and we're not free from learned biases. As hard as individuals and the larger healthcare system try not to let it affect how care is delivered, a ton of work is still needed to be done in this area of medicine. If you're interested in learning more, we'll include some links to literature about this topic.
Now, let's talk about what Sierra mentioned regarding who is actually present during your labor and delivery experience. Basically, if you deliver at a hospital, you will have an assigned nurse who is there to take care of you. This is the person that's going to be in your room the most. They'll be updating the team about any needs or concerns you may have. When it's actually time to deliver, the doctor or the midwife will actually be there for the actual delivery.
Exactly. And when you deliver at home or a birthing center, the delivering provider will be with you during active labor and the pushing stage, because you're about to deliver, as Sierra will explain soon. So stay tuned.
Now, let's talk about C-section rates. Data has actually shown us that over time, once modern fetal monitoring was developed, C-section rates actually increased. Now, you may be wondering, why is that? So basically, when we're monitoring the baby with our fetal Dopplers, we're more likely to see times when the baby is actually in distress, when they're having decelerations or any changes in the heartbeat. And in those cases, we're more likely to intervene because the baby actually looks like it's in distress. I actually published a research on this very topic a few years ago. And I actually noticed one even more startling fact, that Black women are actually more likely to undergo a C-section for fetal heart rate abnormalities. Just like Sierra said, a C-section is a major surgery, and of course it has its own risks. These are risks that we actually would rather avoid. So when our specialty noticed that there was a trend with increased C-section, there was actually clear guidelines that were created to help doctors and midwives decide on when it was appropriate to proceed with the C-section for fetal distress. In fact, a lot of hospitals actually have systems in place to incentivize providers to deliver their patients vaginally.
I'm telling y'all, we get sad if our patients don't have a vaginal delivery.
We would rather not have to do a C-section in the middle of the night. We want y'all to deliver vaginally if it is feasible.
Okay, enough of us. Let's get back to Cece. So who did you reach out to once you got settled?
Yeah, so Lance's business partner, his wife actually had her second child at the birth center, and she was like, it was such a great experience. You should check it out. So now I have like this facility that I can look into, and it's I didn't know much about it other than like the name, so I went to the website and I checked it out. And she also recommended this birth class that we took. It was called the Fundamentals of Empowered Birth. Actually made me kind of be more urgent about the birth center. Like they don't just accept anybody. Cause I'm like, oh, look, I just pull up. Like, like, no, that's not that's not how this works. So she had me actually like the next day, like I'm okay, like I'm booking orientation.
Did you share with your family and your friends at that time that you were interested in delivering at a birth center?
My parents, and they're like, what? A birth center? Like, what's a birth center? What's a doula? What's a midwife? What all these terms that they're like, what is that? Okay, what about a doctor though? Like, so they're like, yeah, I don't know about that. They weren't very excited about that. I told them that, midwives are well trained. They're, medically trained professionals. So it's not just like any old body that's just pulling up, trained professionals. Hey, it's my birth and I have to do what's best for me.
I hear that. Like post that on your wall. It's my birth. I did what's best for me.
As OBGYNs, Kamisha and I strongly believe that it's important that you feel heard and have a trusting relationship with whoever's taking care of you during your pregnancy and delivery. So in addition to OBGYNs, there are some other options available. So let's break it down. Number one, you can have OBGYNs just like me and Kamisha. So this is a doctor who can perform deliveries and does surgery, such as a C-section if needed, or any other gynecological surgeries. We also provide prenatal and postnatal care. Then there are two types of midwives. The first one is called a certified nurse midwife. A certified nurse midwife can actually deliver your baby for a vaginal delivery, and they also do provide prenatal care and some routine health care outside of pregnancy, like a pap smear or an annual gynecological exam. There's a second type of midwife called a licensed midwife. They provide prenatal care and can do deliveries as well, but they don't provide, that care outside of pregnancy like pap smears and exams.
Now, there are also people who don't perform deliveries, but are also involved in the birthing experience. This includes a registered nurse who might take care of you during your labor, and a doula who provides emotional support and advocacy. I know this is a lot of information, y'all, but this is an important point. We're trying to help you craft your squad, and we want you to be informed. Let's get back to Cece. Did you talk to any friends?
My friend's wife who had a home birth, I talked to her and I bombarded her with questions. So she was like super excited. I think she was also one of the first people in her family to have an out of hospital birth. And I was just like so inspired by her story, and told her I was pregnant, that I want to have a natural, unmedicated vaginal birth. And she sent me some books, some natural birthing books. So she was a really great person to just kind of stay in contact with. Also, there were just like a lot of friends who were having babies around the same time. So that was great too, just to have to lean on them. And we're all experiencing these different things that are going on with their bodies at the same time, and instead building that tribe.
So, of the resources that she referred to you, do you feel like one stood out more than the others?
I think the best investment that we made was going to that class. It was called the Fundamentals of Empowered Birth. And there was people would ride a wide range of goals. So I think the what did it for us was letting us kind of know what to expect, but it was more about being informed. And it just made me feel more empowered about making an informed decision. And we're able to ask questions that made me feel more confident in, whatever happens or whatever decisions I make. I know that I've thought these things through, and ask the right questions and things like that. Because the birth center is very selective. They only I only know about Atlanta Birth Center, so this is specific to them. They only accept about like 40 out of 100 applicants. You have to be between the age range of 16 to 36 if it's your first birth. You can't have any chronic medical conditions, so high blood pressure, any bleeding disorders, type 1 diabetes, certain classes of obesity for your pre-pregnancy BMI. You have to have a single baby, so you can't have twins. Previous C-section, no previous preterm birth, and no previous pregnancy loss after 20 weeks. Pregnancy has to be pretty much like uncomplicated as you're, seeing doctors regularly. So, and they also don't accept clients who are more than 30 weeks gestation. When I go to the birth center, the appointments last 20, 30 minutes. In the first, probably about 45 minutes, the first 20 to 30 is just us talking. For the first 20 to 30 minutes, they're just asking me about me, my relationships, my emotions, my nutrition, work, just like what's going on with like you. Anytime they touch my body, my stomach, they ask for permission. Any type of procedure that was going on, they would explain it like, okay, I'm about to like touch your thigh, I'm about to enter your cervix or whatever. It was just very like transparent. When it got to like the facility, it just was very, very warm. And so like I have a design background, so like I'm very attentive to detail. And so like the first thing I noticed was like the fluorescent lights were off. They had these like just like really cute lamps, and like really comfortable, cozy chairs and seats in there. They had really cute, empowering, beautiful pictures of motherhood around. So it's like when you're in there, it's just like it's just this vibe that just makes you feel like empowered and like happy to be there and welcome. And I was like, this is just like beautiful. And so I could just tell like the place was designed with intention, and it had like this mom first approach. And so and then we got to tour like the birthing rooms. And so each one had like a huge shower. There was a tub in every room if you want like a queen size bed, a bassinet, a mini fridge. It just felt like a hug. So many resources there. They had a social worker that they hook you up with, where you have like a one-on-one with her. They put together like a care plan for you, just like help you find solutions or resources to any problem that you have. And then they had little mini groups in between that. So like this Black Mama peer group. And they would have these seminars that we would meet up with. It was just like a very like holistic approach to it. And it was just like mind blowing.
A lot of people face some challenges or roadblocks. Do you feel like there was any specific ones you faced?
Finding insurance that the birth center took. I mean, it ended up all working out. I wouldn't say getting my family on board was a roadblock, but it was definitely like, it was a discussion.
So you mentioned the big day. Do you want to tell us about it?
I had this birth plan. Oh, so I had a doula, unique doula experience. It was like a tandem doula. So it's two doulas that I work with while I'm pregnant, and then one would show up on site. And so they worked together. Yeah, it was lovely.
So let me explain a little bit more about a doula. I was a doula. For 2 years prior to medical school, I was a doula, and I have the utmost respect for them. Their role does not include delivering your baby, but what they can do is provide prenatal, labor, and postpartum support. This includes helping to create a birth plan, manage pain during delivery, and assist with breastfeeding and/or lactation needs.
So, Kamisha, can you tell us some of the benefits of having a doula in labor?
Data shows that there are some great benefits of having a doula. Women with doulas are less likely to have a C-section, less likely to require medication in labor, and more likely to rate their birth experiences positively.
Thank you so much for that explanation. How lucky are we at the Birth Squad to have our very own OB/doula/everything goes extraordinaire. Yes, I recognize you. All right, now let's get back to Sierra's story.
They had a birth plan that they just kind of, like, what's your vision? Kind of like, close your eyes and imagine what kind of birth plan that you wanted. I remember doing that activity. It just really brought me to like tears and just in visualizing like what it would be like. And it was just very dope experience. And so I put together this one pager, like, okay, so my goals were, I wanted to be calm, confident, and gentle. And so I also had like a picture of the room that I wanted. It was the fire room. They had the earth room, the water room, and the fire room. And I wanted the fire room. I don't know. I just felt like connected and drawn to that room. And so I had this picture and I would just look at it every day. Like, I'm giving birth in this fire room. Like, this is my room.
Now, Sierra is going to share her labor experience. Please be advised that this could be triggering for those who have experienced birth and labor. We recognize and understand the significance of birth trauma.
I woke up one day around 8 a.m. There was something strange in the toilet. I took a picture of it and I sent it to my doula team. And they're like, okay, looks like there might be like a mucus plug or something. This is a good sign. Put on a pad. I'm so happy you told me to put that pad on. It's just this gush that this pad is so like, I start contracting. This is probably like 8:30, 20 to 30 minutes apart. Interesting because I couldn't stay off the toilet. I was just like pooping. Never pooped this much ever. And she's like, okay, these are all good things. Then you won't have any come out when it's time to push, right? So this is like around 2 p.m. And then around like 4:30 is when I went to the birth center. And I knew they were gonna send me home because I wasn't in active labor. So at the birth center, like it's not a labor center, it's a birth center. Like you come there, you give birth, and you get out. But I just kind of wanted to like things were happening and I was like, I need to just go get checked out. They confirmed that like my water had broke. Well, that's when they told me that I was 3 centimeters dilated. And at that time, my contractions were like 4 to 5 minutes apart. They're like, yeah, so you're not quite ready to be here yet. I would just kind of maybe just go get something to eat. And so my mom knew that it was on and popping. So she's like blowing me up, like calling me. I don't know how often for real, but it seemed like every 30 minutes, like, hey, Sierra, how you doing? How you feeling? And I'm just like, Mom, I feel the same. I'm in pain and I can barely walk. I really, really just need you to stop calling me. Out of love, I really just need to focus. You can say affirmations, but you really have to like feel it. End up going back home around midnight. So it was like the next day. This is actually what my doula suggested. Take some Benadryl, get some sleep. So I took the Benadryl and went to sleep. So she's like, a lot of people, kind of lean on to interventions, not because they necessarily like can't take it, but a lot of it is like from exhaustion. So like, she's like, get sleep. The contractions will wake you up, when it's time. I woke up the next day. It was like 5:30 the next day. And I had contractions, but like I wasn't really feeling them. And so I was talking to my mom And she's like, "Oh, you need to go to the birth center. Like, you need to go. Like, your water broke yesterday." So I called the birth center. They're like, "Oh yeah, like come in." So I get there probably like around 7:30. And they're like, "Okay, you're like 4.5 centimeters dilated." So not much, but it's like moving a little bit. Contractions are like 8 minutes apart. And so they're like, "But we're gonna let you stay here. You're not active labor yet, but we're gonna let you stay here just because like your water did break and it's we're approaching like a 24-hour mark, but like you and baby are doing fine." They check baby, check me. They're like, "Okay, you're progressing. You're just like progressing really slow." A couple hours later, around noon, I became like 5 to 6 centimeters dilated. Contraction was like 10 minutes apart. So they're like, "Okay, you're progressing, but again, like it's like pretty slow." And so I'm like talking to my doula, maybe you all can try like the breast pump to like try like natural induction. Around like 2 o'clock, that's when we tried the breast pump, and that did not move the needle. So there's like this castor oil smoothie. So they put together this smoothie, and it had like castor oil, apricot juice, I think almond butter. But it wasn't that tasty, but it wasn't that bad. It was just like a smoothie that I probably wouldn't make because like that castor oil tastes nasty. Around 7:30, I'm starting to feel hot. It just shifted from there. I felt hot and I was like, "Oh snap. I didn't want to be touched no more." Got cracking after that. Um, it turned up.
Got hot in the fire
Yeah,
room.
so I didn't get the fire room. So that was one thing. When I was in the triage, they're like, "Okay, so what room do you want?" I'm like, "I want the fire room." They're like, "So the fire room's not available. Somebody's in it." And this is probably so inconsiderate, but I'm like, are they gonna be out soon? Like, cause I can wait, like, like, cause like I have my heart set on the fire room. So I walked to the earth room and I was like, "All right, I'll take the earth room." But then it's just like the vibe, it is just like it don't feel right. And I was like, "Can I look at the water room again?" Yeah, this feels better. So I'm in the water room. At this point, I get in this shower. I'm on my hands and my knees going through this pain, but this the shower water is like amazing. Then I moved to the pool, but my contractions slowed down in the pool. At this point, when I hit 8 centimeters, I'm just like, oh, like, I feel like my back is just like, I just feel the contractions in my back. It was crazy. My doula is like massaging me. She knew all the spots make my body feel better and the positions to put me in to like make the contractions come. Cause like I'm fighting the contractions because like I don't want to feel them. They're like uncomfortable. But I remember in one of my affirmations, like every contraction means that you're closer to the baby. She had me sit like backwards on the toilet, and that, oh my God, like that really like brought them on for me. I'm back in the pool. The contractions start slowing down. So they're like, "Okay, you have to get out the pool." I remember getting out of the pool. I just like, also like I want to have water birth. So I'm like, okay, this is not happening, right? But also I remember this lady and she told me like, it's definitely important to have a birth plan, but like don't be wedded to it. Be open. She's like, "I wanted a water birth for all my children and I tried it and none of my children were born in water." And it's like, it's okay. And so I moved on to the bed. And then I kind of like start pushing. And then I'm just pushing at this point. But then I felt like this is not happening in this bed. It doesn't feel right. And so I just like got off the bed and tried like squatting and like on all fours and start pushing around like 90 minutes. Yeah, 12:37 a.m. Little Lux came out. He finally came out.
When you think back on your experience and your journey, like how do you feel about like your experience and your outcome?
The next day, like I felt empowered. I felt like Superwoman. And I feel like couldn't nobody tell me nothing. Like I did that. It was also too just the way that like Lance looked at me afterwards. that was just so like, he was just like amazed, and all that stuff together just made me feel like really super. I just had new found respect for just mothers, my mother, spiritual awakening. It was very powerful.
So then what advice would you give to other
I
people?
would say first, everyone should just think about like whatever aligns with your values, your birth plan, and your medical history. So you have to be very like low risk for a birth center. So it's not for everyone. So yeah, so medical history is super, super important. So yeah, I would say whatever aligns with yeah, your values, medical history, and your birth plan.
Is there any other advice you would give anybody else?
Two affirmations come to mind. One is that I repeated is like, I know I can have this baby naturally. I believe I can, and so I will. It was just a reminder for me that what you can have what you want. Another affirmation that comes to mind is that pregnancy is not a medical condition. It is a beautiful and completely ordinary part of life. Those really connected with me and my thought process around the birthing experience. Our bodies are meant, to do this. And of course, like, things happen, things can, go outside of your plan. And, sometimes medical assistance, may be required. But just know that, our bodies were built for this.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Sierra. We really appreciate you taking the time to share not even just your experience, but your wisdom with us, because not everybody does what you did and seeks out that information. Not everybody has the ability or the resources to empower themselves. So just sharing your experience is really, really meaningful. And we really thank you
No
for that.
problem. No problem. It was good, talk about this and yeah, just like share this experience. 'Cause I don't know a lot of people who went through this process. That's what helped me. Feeling supported and loved. It was super important. So very thankful for my birth squad.
Well, y'all, thank you for listening to the Birth Squad.
We're going to continue sharing stories from more badass birth warriors because at the end of the day, you are the experts.
Remember, as you navigate your healthcare journey, that you are beautiful, you are brilliant, and you are brave.
We at the Birth Squad would love to hear more from you. Tell us what topics you'd want to hear more about. Hit us up on Instagram at the Birth Squad and on Twitter @_the Birth Squad. Most important, make sure to share this episode with your squad. Until next time, I'm Dr. Ijama Okwandu.
And I'm Dr. Kamisha Thomas. Peace, love, and solidarity from the Birth Squad.
Check out the links in the comment section for more information about the resources and ways to naturally induce labor, as well as the terms and concepts that were mentioned in the episode.